On this vote, the yeas are 216, the nays are 207. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
That's it. Gavel making it official. The Republican-led House of Representatives has just voted to hold Attorney General Merrick Garland in contempt of Congress by a vote of 216 to 207. The vote coming because Attorney General Garland is not turning over the audio recordings of the special counsel's interview with President Biden. Special counsel Robert Hur, he investigated Biden's handling or mishandling, I should say, of classified documents. We should note, for transparency reasons, that CNN is suing the Biden administration as well for those audio recordings, because transparency is a hallmark of journalism and accountability, demanding accountability from public officials. With us now to discuss this vote is New York Democratic Congressman Dan Goldman. Congressman, what's your reaction to the vote, and why should the Biden administration hide these tapes from the public?
Well, first of all, Jake, it's a very disappointing day, and it's another effort by the Republican Party to dig a deeper hole for this institution. Contempt of Congress is a very serious charge, and we know from the Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon cases, those are situations where witnesses are subpoenaed and absolutely blow off various committees, provide no documents, no information, which is exactly what the Trump administration did, as you will recall, back in 2019. And the State Department had gathered a boatload of documents to turn over to the impeachment inquiry related to Ukraine. Donald Trump ordered them not to turn them over. And so what we are now entering into is a situation here where the Republicans obtained the substance of the interview that they requested. That is more than enough for them to do any oversight that they deem necessary. There is no legitimate legislative purpose for them to obtain the audio recording because they're not prosecuting him. They're not trying to determine whether to prosecute him. And there is no legislation they can identify. There's no oversight they can identify that points to why they need the audio recording. And what they really want to do is release it to help Donald Trump misconstrue these recordings, use them during the campaign, and that is not a legitimate purpose. And so this is a situation where the Department of Justice went beyond really the call of duty in providing the substance of all of the requests that the Oversight Committee and the Judiciary Committee made of Merrick Garland, but that's not enough for them. They can't take yes for an answer.
The last three of the last five attorneys general have been found in contempt of Congress. Eric Holder didn't turn over information relating to the Fast and Furious mishap, that sting operation. Attorney General Bill Barr was held in contempt of Congress by a Democratic Congress for not turning over information, the unredacted Mueller report. And now Attorney General Merrick Garland for not turning over the audio. A citizen who doesn't have a dog in the fight might say, it seems to me as though the legislative branch is trying to do oversight of the executive branch, and the executive branch keeps giving whoever's in charge of Congress, the executive branch consistently gives the finger to the House. I assume you don't see it that way, but there is a consistency in these three contempt of Congress votes.
Well, there's only a consistency in the fact that three attorney generals have now been held in contempt by Congress, but the situations and the circumstances are very different. There was no basis for Bill Barr to withhold the unredacted report from Congress. He could identify none if it were an issue of classified or secret information.
But there's really no basis for the Justice Department to not give the audio recordings to Congress either.
Well, first of all, there is, and I do believe the basis is that it would have a chilling impact on any future cooperation of witnesses who would know they would be recorded and would know that it potentially could be disclosed. And who knows what's in a specific recording? We know what the substance is because we have the transcript. And so there are legitimate investigative reasons why the Department of Justice would not want to turn over. And the Congress has to have a legitimate reason to request these materials. There is no legitimate reason that anyone has identified on the Republican side why they need the audio recording in addition to the transcript. And so, yes, congressional oversight is very important. And certainly Donald Trump did give the finger to Congress, and he said it explicitly when he said, I will defy all congressional subpoenas. But that is not what this administration has done at all. This administration has actually gone over and above what is necessary in the usual accommodations process between branches in satisfying these subpoenas.
All right, New York Democrat Congressman Dan Goldman, thanks so much for your time today. Appreciate it. With us now to discuss Republican Congresswoman from New York, Nicole Malliotakis. Congresswoman, thanks for joining us. So you just voted to hold Garland in contempt for not handing over the audio from President Biden's interview with the special counsel, Robert Hur. Transcript has been released. Why is it so important to Republicans to have the audio released? What exactly do you want from the audio?
Well, look, we want to make sure that it matches what the transcript says, and I think that it's important as an oversight procedural issue that we have access to the audio. I think it's just a very simple issue, and it perhaps, I think, as Manu said, we probably have to fight it out in court, but when the Oversight Committee and members of Congress request this type of material by subpoena, it should be provided.
If that's all you want, just to make sure that the transcript matches the audio, could you not just ask for a special master to do that? I mean, what Democrats think, I know, look, CNN wants it too. We want it for journalistic reasons. You guys are politicians. I don't think the chances are zero that if you got the audio, that some of that audio, especially the less flattering parts of it, might end up in an attack ad. I mean, that's the fear that Democrats have.
Look, they could fear whatever they'd like. It doesn't mean that they shouldn't be complying with the subpoena from the House of Representatives. I think it's just it's cut and dry and simple like that. For the same reasons that CNN seeks the audio tape. But I think that the larger issue here is that it always seems that there's zero transparency. We've had so much difficulty. And it's not just this issue with this administration. It's multiple issues where we're trying to do our oversight responsibility. We're trying to bring transparency to the people. And this is their government, and they deserve to see everything and hear everything. And if there's a subpoena request for something, then it should be provided. It's a shame that we have to actually get to the subpoena position in the first place. I mean, we request information all the time for oversight purposes, and we have difficulty getting. And it's not limited specifically to this administration. I mean, I know one of the issues we're going to talk about is Governor Cuomo. I mean, we wrote letters for nearly 4 years to try to get information, simple questions that we've asked, and they just disrespected the House of Representatives. They thought it wasn't important to provide answers to us, and we're seeing that happen time and again, where people feel that they can just violate federal law and what we believe is proper oversight.
So one more question on this, and then I'll get to Governor Cuomo, who testified behind closed doors yesterday, and you were there, so I do want to ask about that. You weren't in Congress at the time, but I wouldn't say that your Republican colleagues exactly ran to vote to hold Attorney General Bill Barr in contempt of Congress when he refused to hand over all the details of the Mueller investigation and the unredacted report. Would you have voted to hold him in contempt of Congress as well?
Yeah, perhaps. I was not here at the time, so I don't know the particulars of what occurred. But I do believe that there is a responsibility here for oversight. And certainly as a member who has been involved in the Ways and Means Committee, we were the ones who delivered the IRS whistleblowers that played a big role in this conviction of Hunter Biden. I think oversight is important. The American people deserve to know what happens, even if it's happening behind closed doors, especially when it's happening behind closed doors. So while I don't know the particulars that you're mentioning, I think we do need to be consistent.